policy of EU and also sustainable development in EU. And during partner events, business associations, environmental associations, civil society, schools, universities, and other stakeholders have the opportunity to debate topics like biodiversity, circularity, green economy, and this year in particular the skills for sustainable, resilient, and socially fair communities. So SURE 5.0 project and up to SURE project that are both European projects within the framework of Horizon Europe and share some common goals, decided to join forces to organize this webinar, aiming to attract SMEs and help them integrate sustainability and circularity in their business. Showing them best practices and correct approaches. And the industry experts of today will also explain you the advantages of being a part of these two European projects, benefiting from assessment reports, tailored services, open webinars like this one, networking and peer learning events, individual roadmaps, and obviously financial support, European financial support for implementing your innovation projects. So now let me briefly going through the agenda of today. In a few minutes, I will give the floor to Silke Schleiff, who is the technical coordinator of Up to SURE European projects. And she will talk about opportunities in circularity topic for SMEs within the framework of the project. Then we will have a speech by Diego Carballo, who is the project leader of SURE 5.0 European project, and will give us some advice on how to improve sustainability in business processes. And in the end, we will have a concrete case study about these topics from a startup called ENERFAST. The speaker will be Miguel Lagos, and he will concentrate on sustainability and efficiency improvement in manufacturing processes. At the end of these speeches, we will have a Q&A session. So please, if you have some questions, put them into the chat also during the speeches, and you will get the answers at the end. So now let's start. Enjoy this event, and please, Silke, you can start with your interesting speech. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miriam, for the nice introduction to this webinar. So today we want to explore with you the how to green EU's economy. And my first part today will be about the Up to SURE project, which is about making Europe more circular. So about exploring opportunities of the circular economy, especially for small and medium-sized companies. We're a Horizon Europe project funded by the EU, and 7 EU partners joined for this project. My name is Silke from TUTEC, but we also have partners on board from Italy with the Chamber of Commerce in Torino, from Spain with Fundesit, Estonia, Tartu Science Park, then in Poland, the Lubelska Fundacja Rozwoju, in Czech Republic, JIC, and in France, Rising Sud. So let's look into the topic. Why circular economy? Why is this relevant? Well, we all face all these big ecological, social, and economic challenges today, and they force us to rethink economy. Now, on the one hand, of course, the ecologic aspects. We all see that climate change becomes more and more visible with floods, storms, droughts, wood fires all over the world. And let us remind that here in Europe, we still have quite a good situations. It's far worse in other parts of the world. And of course, also the significant loss of biodiversity should remind us to preserve our livelihood and not to take the treasures that this planet provides for us, like potable water and fertile soils and fresh air, for granted. Then there's the social aspects. our prosperity here in Europe is based to a considerable extent on the rather poor working and living conditions of many people in other parts of the world. And deep within our global supply chains, many of the products we buy contain child labor, forced labor, or bad environmental and health conditions for workers. Access to raw materials, which are in great demand, which we all know, and especially by the industrialized countries, is one of the main causes of armed conflicts worldwide. And all this leads to migration movements to Europe that we will not be able to stop unless living conditions are improved. And even here within Europe, social equality increases, which can threaten our democracies. So without more social justice, conflicts will further increase. And last but not least, of course, there's the economic aspects. Europe has been committed to growth for decades, but at the moment, the mountain of debt is growing and resources are getting scarce. So how can we secure our economic foundations, and how can we decouple growth from resource consumption? And what are we leaving behind for future generations? Sustainability is also indispensable from an economic point of view. And let us remind that we have never been so many people in the world as we are today. And each of these many people, each of us per capita, consumes more resources than ever before. So this is a huge challenge. And according to the Circularity Gap Report, only 7.2% of all these resources cycles back into the global economy. And this percentage has been further decreasing throughout the last years. So even less cycles back to the circle. But resources of the planet are limited, and in addition, producing new materials results in much higher carbon emissions than reusing materials, recycling materials. So the Circularity Gap estimates that a circular economy could reduce our global greenhouse gas emissions by nearly 40%. Thus, a circular economy enables us, on the one hand, to cut down emissions significantly and to decouple growth from resource use. And that's the reason why the EU politics agreed on a circular economy action plan for Europe. And I just take this short quote where it says that the EU needs to accelerate the transition towards a regenerative growth model that gives back to the planet more than it takes and advances towards keeping its resource consumptions within the planetary boundaries, and therefore strive to reduce its consumption footprint and to double its circular material use rate in the coming decade. This is what we want to support you with in Up to Circ. So what is the circular economy about? Many people hearing about circular economy think about recycling. Okay, recycling is one aspect, but it's not all of it. And so let us look a bit into the concept of circular economy. Our current linear economy takes resources, makes products out of them that consumers can use, and then in the end, they become waste, often even before the end of their lifetime, just because they are not used anymore, or not needed, or not fashionable anymore. But let us remind that there's no waste in nature. Actually, waste is a completely human-made concept, and I think this is something we really need to remind ourselves. So we should rather consider it as a design flaw than as an inevitable byproduct of the things we make. So whereas the linear economy usually starts to think about disposal or recycling at end of life of the product, the circular economy aims to eliminate waste and pollution initially at design stage. So this is one of the first main principles of the circular economy. A producer in the circular economy takes responsibility for the whole life cycle of a product. The second principle is the key concept to decouple growth from use of finite resources, thus to keep products and materials in use as long as possible and to circulate them at their highest value. So products are designed to be reused, repaired, remanufactured, and if this is not possible anymore, then recycling comes into place. And the third principle is to regenerate natural systems, natural ecosystems. The linear economy has destroyed the balance of our natural ecosystems, but to ensure they function, and this is the basis for our life, as we need to remind ourselves every day, we need to reduce emissions and contamination, but we need also to promote biodiversity and natural loops. this can be done, for example, by avoiding hazardous materials, by returning biodegradable and compostable materials to the biological cycle, and by making sustainable use of water. So in green now, you see the key strategies of the circular economy. These are to narrow, thus to use less material and energy during design, but also during use and production and use and delivery of products. Then to slow means to use products, components, and materials longer, thus to keep them in the economy. This can be, for example, to offer repair services or include upgradability aspects. To close means to use wasted products, components, and materials again, for example, in remanufacture, but also in recycling in the end. And to regenerate means to make our economy clean by using non-toxic, biodegradable materials and renewable energy. And including all this circular economy can offer a very profitable opportunity also to companies, because it's an opportunity to move away from resource-intensive processes. And we all know that companies today are facing huge challenges with the rising material and energy prices. It can help to maximize the use of existing assets instead of wasting value. And it can create new revenue streams and preserve natural capital at once. So much about the theory. And I will not go on with that, but get more into the practical aspects. And let's try to understand opportunities of the circular economy in contrast to the inefficiencies of the linear economy. And as an example, I took here a manufacturer of playground equipment. Let's say a manufacturer that made this swing you can see the kids on in the garden. Thus, which inefficiencies could we detect? It could be about the use of materials. So many products today break down too quickly and cannot be easily reused, repaired, or recycled. Some are even made for single use only. So this swing, I think, might be made of recyclable and durable materials, but maybe it's not designed for recyclability and no recycled materials have been used in production. So there are opportunities to adjust this. And let's consider the product lifetime. This swing might be built for long life cycles and high durability, but we all know that kids grow quickly and interests change. So if they like this swing when they are 3 years old, they might be completely disinterested if they are 5 years old. So is it designed for enhanced repairability on the one hand, but also for upgradability? Is it modular, so you could replace like one playing equipment with something more interesting when the kids grow older? The full potential of after-sales services in this context might not be exploited. And regarding product capacity, of course, many kids could have fun with the swing, but most playground equipment, especially in private gardens, is rather rotting away than being fully utilized. So does the product realize its full potential? And coming to end of life, we have to consider that these materials might allow for remanufacture and even for high quality recycling. But with sales of the product, the materials are gone and the producer is not connected to the user anymore. So how will the user recycle this? How will it turn back into the circle? We have to consider these questions. And so how can these inefficiencies be addressed with the circular economy? We could consider product innovations, like the swing might be designed as a product for closed loop recycling, meaning that the materials are, it's made out of one material that can be easily recycled. All different materials can be separated at end of life, so they can be recycled in a good way. Another product innovation could be that it's made with modular design. So when the kids grow, it can be adjusted, it can be made more interesting again. And the products can be designed to be remanufactured. This includes, for example, thinking about how it can be easily and quickly disassembled. And concerning product innovation, we can think about substitution of virgin raw materials by bio-based or recycled materials. We could think about lean manufacturing processes with standardized parts, which usually saves a lot of costs in production too, or about applying IT processes that would then later enable reverse logistics and a refund system to get the materials and the components back, so remanufacture and recycling can be done. Concerning business model innovations, the manufacturer could consider to build a circular supply chain, to develop a portfolio for product life extension, or even to offer the swing as a service for a monthly fee or for rent, and to offer a take-back scheme. All these could be aspects in an up-to-circ vision. So what we want to do in the project is to boost the uptake of circular business model product and process innovation together with European small and medium-sized companies. So what could be your circular vision? It might include considering innovation in your resource flows, how to make them more clean or how to reduce them. It could be about your resource outflows, so how to valorize and recycle things. Or it could be about extending your value chain with reuse, repair, remanufacturing, sharing, offering products as a service, and so on. This really depends on your core business and your specific company. And so, of course, it needs to be considered individually. Just to give a few examples here, we have a company from Estonia, Kodas, that is producing juices and juice drinks. And they had a lot of waste from the residues of apples or other fruits and started then to valorize them. So instead of having costs for dealing with the waste, now they use them and increase their value chain. Or we have this company from Hamburg that is active in the design and construction of exhibition stands. And we all know exhibitions only take place for very few days, but a successful trade fair appearance should catch the eye, and every customer has special wishes and requirements. But nevertheless, the company wanted to offer climate neutral trade fair presents. So they actually use digitalization and are working with a software that directly calculates the carbon footprint. And so you can consider alternative materials and their carbon emissions. And yeah, this is combined with a high level of reuse and so on. Then we have this Polish manufacturer of footwear that started to use production wastes and to take back worn products and to use the materials in production again. So all these could be aspects that could also work for your companies. And this is what we want to work with you in Up to Circ. So on the one hand, we want to explore opportunities to innovate towards circularity, to discover benefits for your company, to help you design an action plan. And we also offer EU funding opportunities. It could be either up to 15,000 for circular business model innovation or up to 50,000 project in a lump sum for circular product and process innovations. And here we require that the companies take or participate in the Up to Circ Academy, how we call it, where you can learn about how to do this before applying for funding. So it's not only giving money, but it's a lot about giving advice and developing together with you opportunities. Yes, so that's all. We start with our pilot run right now, only in the regions of the 7 partners, but from autumn on, we will have an EU-wide open call. So just have a look at our website, Up to Circ EU, and get in touch if you're interested to hear more. Thank you.
Thank you, Silke. How many things to be learned about circular economy and the correct approaches to circularity. Thank you for your speech and the opportunities you showed. Now we can pass to the second speech. So please, Diego Carballo, project leader of SURE 5.0, can start his speech about sustainability and the SURE 5.0 project. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Miriam, for this transition. So yes, so it is up to me to speak. So my name is Diego Carballo, working as European project manager at Aerospace Valley and coordinator of the project SURE 5.0. So before I say a few words about the project, maybe to explain to you a little bit the rationale of what is behind what we want to do. So you can see on the screen a lot of pictures, but a lot of things that are happening right now or had happened in the last few years in the world. So on one side, you can see on the right, so the big flag, the Ukrainian flag that unless you lived on a cave on the last few years, everyone is aware of that. But it's more about what happened due to this crisis in Ukraine. On our industry, it's basically issues with primary materials, so raw materials to work on manufacturing the products, but also issues with the energy, because all of you know that well, gas is a synonym of Russia. Well, it was in the last few years ago. But you can see also on the other side other flags, so China, India, United States. So this is something that is happening since let's say more than a decade in Europe. Is the concurrency between those countries and European businesses. So at some point it was let's say a concurrency that it was disadvantage. And that caused some pains in the European ecosystems. You can see on the bottom right, well, the COVID crisis that spared no one in Europe, in particular the industry, in which, well, in some occasions, working from home was not possible, so industries had to close. So it was an issue in Europe. And behind of that, you can see the planet. So, well, I should have put it in front of everything because it is a quite urgent issue as well, is that among all those crises, there is a wave that is coming, that is the heating of the planet Earth. And the rationale behind that is that we need to find solutions, to comply with all those crises, but still having to, as Silke mentioned it, being able to provide a land, a earth that is fertile and in good health for the next generations. So behind this rationale, there is a keyword that was launched by the European Commission, that is Industry 5.0. So you will say, oh, a new industry, but we already just started with 4.0, so why 5.0? So just hear me out. So Industry 5.0, what it is a concept that is based on three main values that are human centricity, resilience, and sustainability. And basically, the rationale on the side of the European Commission is that, okay, we will not launch a new revolution. Industry 5.0, why the change of world? Because we need to put the emphasis on the change. And the change is quite huge, mainly in the side of values that are human centricity, resilience, and sustainability. The idea for the Commission to put behind that is that we have new technologies that the European Commission qualify as advanced technologies for industry, but those new technologies does not need to go against the well-being of people, the well-being of the planet, and also, well, the well-being and the sovereignty of European Union. And this is what you will find in those three values that are human centricity, sustainability, and resilience. Past that, you take technologies that you are already finding in processes that are called Industry 5.0, like artificial intelligence, machinery, robotics, AI, also VR and AR. This is something that you will find also in Industry 5.0, but the emphasis is put on those three values. Okay, we need to take those technologies and we need to put them at the benefit of people of the Earth and of Europe, of course, given that it's a European concept. So just to go quickly on the three concepts, so what is behind of it? So human centricity, the human-centric approach, the idea is to place essential human needs and interests at the center of manufacturing processes, meaning that there is a transition between digital driven paradigm that was a case during the last few years to more human-centric and society-centric, I will say, approach in the industries of Europe. And this approach takes into account that people and society should be served by technology, as I said. And technology is then to be employed in order to reach this ideal at the end. So I say ideal because it's a process that is undergoing. And I think that launching a project like SURE5.0, I will explain to you a little bit later what is the idea for us. It will contribute to attaining this ideal of human centricity. Then there is sustainability, and sustainability on the frame of this definition, because it can be quite broad, it refers to the necessity of implementation of circular processes to enable reuse. So I will not redo the presentation made by Silke just before, but it joins the principle. The idea is to avoid using new raw materials that can be in which that can lead to let's say destructive processes and consequences for the planet, but more like recycling what we already are using and sometimes wasting in the industries. And in the frame of the companies, the idea is, because as you can see, there is a crisis in the raw materials. The idea, the stake is quite high because it will allow them to survive the next few decades, because they will need to adopt those kind of solutions. And then there is the resilience side. So in this part, it refers to the requirement for improved production and supply chain robustness. And this is something that we saw during COVID and a little bit during Ukraine, is that it was quite difficult for companies to survive those crises. And this resilience part is actually embedded in this Industry 5.0 concept in order to allow the companies to have the tools and to have the keys to survive the next crisis, because I will have to say there will be next crisis in Europe that involves similar issues for the companies. So what will be the added value and the benefits of Industry 5.0 for the companies? Well, first, there is one huge part that is cost reduction. Because the idea of Industry 5.0 is to pursue business model that use the fewest resources to generate the greatest profits for the companies. And the idea, taking into account the human centricity, is to find more like cooperation between human and machine. So this is where you will find keywords like human-machine interface or cobots, in order to develop, let's say, friendly solutions and that are tackling climate change. And tackling climate change, come back to the second aspect, that is sustainable solutions. In contrast of other transformation that already occur, this one is purely focused on sustainability. And the idea is to help manufacturers to, okay, still have profits, still survive at the end of the day, but doing it, taking into account the earth and the future for our children. And the idea is to propose to companies a new way of producing, taking into account the sustainable aspect. That is quite important. And then there is one additional aspect, that is mass customization and personalization. The idea here is, given that it's more focused on human and not on machines, and there is no longer, let's say, a strategy of mass production in series. The principle of Industry 5.0 offers the company the possibility to personalize their production and to adapt to the client needs. And this is something that we will see more and more in Europe, is that, and that we are already beginning to see in some sector, is that we are focusing more on quality than quantity. So this is what was about Industry 5.0. So where Industry 5.0 fits into the project SURE 5.0. So 5.0, there is a link. So basically on our side, we are a European project that aims at supporting SMEs to go toward this vague concept that is vague for now, this concept of Industry 5.0, and to make it concrete at the end for them. So this will be done in particular for three main industries that are mobility, transport, and automotive, aerospace and defense, and electronics. Just a few words about who we are before I continue. So we are 11 partners from 8 countries. We are a large part of clusters. We are also RTOs, research centers, consulting companies, and one EIT. So in detail, Aerospace Valley, so based in France, that works on aerospace. SEAGA, that is a Spanish cluster on automotive in Spain. Silicon Alps, that work on electronics in Austria. Coalia, that works on aerospace and electronics in Greece. ANFIA, that works on automotive in Italy. F6S, that is support for the project that works in Ireland. We have one Fraunhofer Institute, that is the Fraunhofer IPT in Germany then. We have one research center called AMEN, that is situated in Spain. We have one other research center that is Taltech in Estonia. One consulting company that is Iniziativa in Italy, and finally the EIT Manufacturing West that is located in Spain. So to come back to the project, the main idea for us is to target companies with the rationale of the, let's say, the big keyword that you will find in European Union, that is the twin transition, that are advanced technologies for industries, and also social innovation. We have a budget of almost 5 million euros. So this is public data, so I can say it to you. And the idea for us is to dedicate more than half of this budget to finance directly SMEs in the frame of the implementation of 5.0 project, in the frame of implementation of transformation project. So we started the project last year, well, just a year ago, and it will end in 2 years in 2025. So during this amount of time, we will launch opportunities for companies to join us, and most of all to get the tools and sometimes the funds to go toward this transformation. So what are we offering in SURE 5.0? Assessment reports. Industry 5.0 is quite new, so we help companies to assess whether they're ready or not and what they can implement. We offer tailored services that fit towards the companies and in relation with the assessment. We offer open webinars like today. We offer networking and peer learning events for the companies, because it's always better to go towards Industry 5.0 in group and not alone. We offer individual roadmaps. So for the most motivated companies, we can help them to build what they want to do in the frame of Industry 5.0. And then, of course, we offer financial support up to 50,000 euros to companies. So three scenarios to go join us in the project. First, you are an SME that is a manufacturing SME and that requires support to go towards Industry 5.0. So we can offer a large panel of activities. So a self-assessment that you can fill in to have a better idea of what is Industry 5.0 and if it is for you. We can offer 5.0 awareness to complete this self-assessment, to make you again understand better what is Industry 5.0 and to see the benefits of it. We offer for the most motivated ones tailored services. So to a first open call that will be launched to the companies, and the laureates will receive individual services, to work on their roadmap and to have recommendations on what to implement to go toward Industry 5.0. And then for the most motivated of them, we can offer money, so financial support, as I said, 50,000 euro max per companies, to undertake the transformation based on the recommendation that we made. And during this transformation, we can also offer a follow-up, meaning that during the time of of using of the 50K euros, you will be followed up by the consortium of SURE5.0 to have all the advices and to be sure that you go on the right direction. But then there is other cases scenario because you are maybe not a manufacturing SMEs. So if you are a service provider that is still interested in providing services in the frame of Industry 5.0, we have a catalog of service provider that is already open and in which you can apply. So applications are quite easy to make and quick. And on the side, the idea is to build a European catalog of service provider that could help us, that could help SURE 5.0 to provide services to the companies. So companies that will receive 50K euros at the end, so that this money will have to be used. It is best for us if it's used towards the service providers that we are on our catalog. And then the third case scenario is that you do not fit in those first two options. You are just another stakeholder that is interested in Industry 5.0. Well, we have a community of practice alliance. It's, well, for now, it's a LinkedIn group that is animated by SURE 5.0. And our main ambition and objective is to make it fruitful and to encourage networking activities between members, peer learning. We want to share good practices in this LinkedIn group, and we want to allow maybe isolated entities in the field of Industry 5.0 to get in touch with the other ones in Europe. And to the idea is to build groups, a network to go towards common activities and to strengthen this Industry 5.0 topic around Europe. So to join the community, so you will have the slides at the end of this webinar. You just have to click on join the community. There is an hyperlink, so it's quite easy to do. And I think that it's all for me. So yes, if you have questions, just put them on the chat and I will be able to answer them at the end of the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Diego. So we understood that Industry 5.0 is not an unattainable paradigm far from reality, but it's something that SMEs can benefit from in this particular historical phase.
Yep.
We are already collecting some questions, so both Silke and Diego will answer to you at the end of the speeches. Now we can pass to the third and last speech from Miguel Lagos Gomez from ENERFAST. So let's discover everything about this interesting case of a startup, of a FAST project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Miriam. Yes, well, after these two interesting talks, my talk is an example. It's not really. Is about, of course, a process that applies mainly sustainability and some of the concepts we hear before. But here we are going to talk about one specific case, that is this project ENERFAST. We are running with different companies. You will see later on the topic of this talk. Well, this project is funded by the EIT Manufacturing and is co-funded by the European Union. Well, now we are going to talk about technology. I don't know if some of you are familiar with powder metallurgy. Powder metallurgy is a process to produce parts, mainly metallic parts, and there are different applications. One of them are, for example, these metal diamond tools, abrasives, cements, different kind of materials. In the powder metallurgical process, the main goal of the technology is to sinter or to consolidate powders to produce a part. And to do that, normally the conventional process is to put powders in a pressing die, press the material, you have a piece that is in green, then put this in a furnace, heat it for hours, and after these tens of hours, you have a piece produced. This is the conventional powder metallurgical process. As you will see, as it's for hours in a furnace at more than 1000 degrees C, this process is very energy. Well, the consumption of energy is very high and is very ineffective. They say that only the 30% of the energy you put is really used to heat the material, and the rest is energy that is lost during processing. Here in ENERFAST, what we are trying to implement is a fast processing that and the difference is that you put a material in a die, you press it, you cross electricity through the material, and only the material is heated. This is the important part here. As we are only heating the material itself, we are not losing all the heat to outside as in the conventional process. This is probably the main advantage of this approach, of this ENERFAST process. The idea in this project specifically is to apply this technology to metal diamond tools and to abrasives. When we talk about abrasives, we are talking specifically about brakes, about the brake pads mainly for motorbikes. That is one application we are dealing with. To talk about the amount of energy we are going to reduce is difficult because it depends a lot on the application, the number of pieces you are going to produce and whatever. But doing an LCA that we are, let's say, doing during this project, we believe that 20% is not to be very optimistic. I mean, we believe that it can be even more than 20% in energy consumption for these specific applications and the series, the number of pieces that we are dealing with in these with these applications. Well, the technology itself, I'm not going to enter in a lot of technical details, but what we have in ENERFAST is a machine that is similar to a cold press, but a very special cold press. What we do is to put the powder in a die, to compress it, to cross electricity through the material in less than 1 second, and you have the part ready. This is one lab scale machine we have at TECNALIA, and what we are doing right now in this process is to go from this lab scale approach to an industrial scale approach with the help of some companies. You will see later on the consortium we are doing this approach. And one of the main advantages here is that we can do all of this production of the piece in only one machine. In the conventional process, or even in a hot press. A hot press is let's say another alternative to produce powder metal parts, in which you have a press and you have a furnace. You have, let's say, a press inside a furnace, and it's similar what we do, but the time of the process is in terms of hours, not in terms of seconds, as we are speaking here. Yeah, of course, there are more competitive technologies to this ENERFAST process we are developing. For example, one conventional one is spark plasma sintering. That's more conventional, but in this case, we are talking about minutes instead of seconds. In SPS, normally is use a graphite die. Then it's let's say a hybrid heating, because you are heating also the material, but also the die you are putting there. And for that reason, is performed in vacuum and with, let's say, moderate energies. In our case, we apply higher currents in a very short time, and using a dielectric die. What this means that we put electricity only through the powder, not through the die. And for that reason, it's possible to avoid the protective atmosphere that normally is expensive in this kind of processing. But of course, this technology is not for everything. It's not the magic solution for all powder metallurgical processes. We have some limitations too. Some of them we are trying to solve. One of the limitations that this is only for conductive materials. For example, spark plasma sintering, you can play with ceramics, with different things. In this case, we are talking only about metals and metal ceramics, because we are putting the electricity through the material, and needs to, let's say, to cross the material itself. You need conductivity. It's for metals and metal ceramics. The size of the pieces, as we are using very high currents, there is a technical limitation about the maximum current you can put in a die like this. Then the sizes we are playing with right now is between 25 and 35 millimeters in diameter, if we think about let's say a single sample, cylinder, and we are, let's say, trying to increase this size. There are also some geometrical, a limited geometrical complexity. We can, let's say, do triangles, rectangles, but if we are, let's say, thinking about, for example, additive manufacturing, very complex shapes, this is not probably or at least it's not the easiest way to do complex shapes. And of course, there is no diffusion. The time is very short. It means that what you put in the die is what you will get after the end of the process. This is good for some materials and not so good for others. And also in the case of metal diamond tools, you can avoid graphitization of the diamond because the process is very short. Yeah, other possible advantages of the technology. One is efficiency. We were talking about the energy consumption. The other one is flexibility. Why? Because in a conventional process, in a conventional powder metallurgical process, you fill the die or fill the furnace with all the materials the same, because you need to put a cycle, and the cycle should be the same for all of them. In this case, you can say change the process very, very quickly. You can change the conditions, you can change even the composition you will need to produce, and it's much more flexible than a conventional furnace. And also it's easy to implement. As you see, it's a simple machine similar to a cold press, but of course a special one. It's also possible to work with iron binders. In metal diamond tools, the conventional material is cobalt, and cobalt, we know that is a critical material from safety reasons, for health and safety reasons, also from the perspective of the EU, the possibility of get this material. And in this case, this technology is very useful to use iron binders. Even iron works better than cobalt with this technology. We can get very high densities. That's good for dust generation in brake pads. We use ceramic dies instead of, for example, graphite dies. And the usability or these dies can be reused for a long time. And also, of course, we avoid a controlled atmosphere that is, of course, always expensive and difficult to implement. This technology was patented by TECNALIA, and we have an agreement with SME, an Italian SME. You will see later on what we are doing with them. Regarding the specific materials or the specific applications here, we are working with two Italian companies. One is Delas, that is a metal diamond tools producer, and the other one is Frenotecnica, and they produce friction materials for brake pads for motorbikes. In the metal diamond tools, when I'm talking about this application, is for example for these discs for the cutting of marble or stone. And we, of course, we cannot produce the whole tool. What we produce are the segments that are, let's say, cutting, or the active material that is really cutting the stone. We produce these segments, and then these segments are welded to the whole piece. In the case of the friction materials, it's the same. We do not produce the whole piece. We produce, let's say, the abrasive material that then is welded to a backplate. But in both cases, according to the numbers of these two companies, this technology can be competitive. This is the reason why we are trying to apply these two specific applications. Well, about the consortium, well, I work at TECNALIA. We are a research center in Spain, and we are developing this technology with EFT, that is an SME in Italy, but we have also these two end users, Delas and Frenotecnica, and we have, of course, the scientific and exploitation support from the Hub Innovazione Trentino and the University of Trento. Some presentations about ourselves, about the consortium. EFT is a leading company in precision machines, and the objective of them is to commercialize these machines at the end of this project, and we are working with them, mainly close to them, for the co-development of this technology, going through this lab scale machine to an industrial one. In the case of TECNALIA, where we are a research center in the north of Spain, we developed this technology in 2 European projects from 2007. And well, Inigo, my colleague, is leading this project itself. The University of Trento is giving us the scientific support. In this project is also involved Professor Molinari, that is an expert, worldwide known expert in powder metallurgy, and we have also the help of the Hub Innovazione Trentino, that the main goal of them is to help the SMEs to go to the market. And in this case, we have, for example, the 3 SMEs that want to go to the market with one application. Of course, we have Delas. Delas is an Italian company that they have a leading position in the market of diamond tools for 40 years, and also Frenotecnica, that they produce brake pads under the name of Brenta. And we have also involved the R&D department of this company within the project. Well, the activities I'm not going to enter in all the details of the activities of the project, only to let you know that we have a 1-year project that is quite short for the thing we want to do. And the main activities will be, of course, to define the requirements to design this machine and to fabricate some tools for validation. Nothing very strange in one of these kind of projects, but the point here is that it's very focused on application and on exploitation of the results in an industrial level, and trying to involve SMEs, let's say, in the development of new technologies, in this case, sustainable technologies. Well, as I said, this is a 1-year project, and right now we are in the middle, and we are, let's say, playing with the machine and trying to optimize the machine to this specific application, doing the scaling up and so on of this material, working between TECNALIA and EFT mainly on this task, of course, with the requirements from the end users. And that's mainly all. The ENERFAST project is, as I said before, the idea is to develop an efficient and sustainable process for fabrication of these 2 materials, diamond tools and friction materials. And of course, this is a first step, because these are 2 specific applications. As I said before, probably this technology is not for everything, but we believe that there are more things that these 2 use cases could be, for example, magnetic materials that are very important right now in the technological changes we are living. Also in thermoelectrics, in hard materials, biomaterials, there are different applications that we will, let's say, or we will try to do in the future, but step by step. We are starting with these 2 specific cases, and that's mainly all. Thank you for your attention. You have here, well, Inigo's and my email if you want to contact us if you are interested in the technique or whatever. And thank you very much. I'm open for your questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Miguel. A very interesting speech showing efficient and competitive results you get from this project from ENERFAST, and this also shows that participating to European projects can really have a concrete return in business processes and also future perspectives, as you showed us in this last chart, that the project is still ongoing and there will be other future returns for manufacturing industry. So thank you to all the speakers. We are also quite on time, so now we can open the Q&A session. So let's start with a first question for Silke Schleiff from Up to Circ. You talked about a circular approach in the different phases of the life cycle of a product. According to your experience, in which phases SMEs have more difficulties to adopt a circular approach?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. Well, as you maybe saw on that one slide, a lot of the environmental intakes, up to 80%, are already decided on at design stage. So if you're a company that is not involved in that, it might, you might have other more complicated issues to touch. And I think circular economy is also a lot about collaboration and about looking into your supply chain, into your customers, and into looking how to cooperate on innovation. And so I cannot really give a clear answer, I think, to this one, because it depends very much on the customized case. So looking into circular economy for different companies can mean very different things. We saw with ENERFAST that this is a project really looking into energy efficient production and cutting down emissions through applying advanced technologies. And this can be one very important and interesting aspect. But for other companies, it might entirely not be about advanced technologies, but about looking into business models, like changing from selling products to offering products as a service. And so there are many, many different aspects that are involved in uptake of circular economy. And you really have to look into your specific company case, and you really have to take a customized approach to this. And yeah, so I would just like to encourage everybody to have a look into the opportunities for your company and not to strive to be perfect at once, because becoming 100% circular is really difficult currently. But take the first steps, look into how to get more circular at first.
Okay, thank you very much, Silke. Now we have some other questions. One in general about the availability of the charts of the slides of the three speeches of today. And then yes, we can confirm that the slides will be available on SURE5.0 website in the training section. So feel free to visit this website and obviously both the website of the two projects. The slides will be there for you. And then there is a question for Diego Carballo. What's the place of the artificial intelligence in the industry 5.0? Can we use it to green our economy?
Okay. Yes, well, I have to say that artificial intelligence has a quite central place in Industry 5.0. Well, firstly, on the side of the European Commission, because they consider artificial intelligence as an advanced technology for industry. So this is something that is already targeted for industry, and there are a lot of supports given by the Commission, to develop artificial intelligence in the frame of industry, and to green our economy. Well, we can do a lot of things to green our economy. Artificial intelligence can be used in order to let's say, less pollute and avoid wasting. And I can give you an example, well, a use case that is from the aerospace sector, but I'm sure is used on other sectors. Well, aerospace, because it's my field of activity. In aerospace sector, artificial intelligence can be used and is already being used to boost quality control of the companies, mainly in the defect detection of pieces. This is a technology that you can use in alternative of doing it manually. So for workers to check each piece individually if there is a defect. Well, first, with artificial intelligence, you avoid human error, and for the workers, you avoid work that is quite repetitive and painful for them. So we come back to the human centricity that I mentioned in 5.0, but so basically with artificial intelligence, the defect detection rate is up to 90%, meaning that 90% of the defectuous spaces are located with artificial intelligence. I don't have the percentage for human, but I know it's lower. And the main objective basically is go to the source of the issue easily. And basically, when you have a defective pieces, either you rearrange it if you can, or you throw it because it cannot be used. With artificial intelligence that detect defection, it can be done as an early stage. So you have the opportunity to correct the piece, to still keep it on the flow of production. Or if it's too late, you can detect the error. You can see where the error is coming from and to avoid it in the future. So at the end, you avoid wasting. There are already results that exist in aerospace. You avoid wasting, and you have more, let's say, you are more sure that your piece will be of quality at the end. Other example that I can give about Industry 5 artificial intelligence are the predictive management of stocks that can enable you to know clearly at one time what are your stocks and how you can use it. and to avoid cases in which you have too much of them and you need to get rid of. And there is also the monitoring and optimization of production rates that on this side has some effect on the energy use. And we all know that energy is quite important right now and can be costly for enterprises. Well, with artificial intelligence, you can optimize your production rate and then at the end gain some euros in your final bill. So what I can do, similarly to Silke, I can invite you to get in touch with SURE5.0, and they are actual experts because I'm just a speaker. We have experts that will be able to go in further details on what can be done in your own context with artificial intelligence in Industry 5.0.
Okay, thank you, Diego. I think your answer was exhaustive. And now, next question is for ENERFAST, so for Miguel Angel. Can other companies benefit from the developments of ENERFAST?
Yes, for sure. Because as I said before, this is a first stage. We, let's say, need to go from lab scale to industrial scale because it's important for the technique. But later on, we want to widen the possible applications of this technique. And as I said before, this is an open field we have, and of course other SMEs that for other different applications, or even for similar ones, but not really competitive with the ones we are speaking right now, will be useful for them to apply this technique to improve their efficiency in, or not only the energetic efficiency, but also the costs. That's finally also very important for the companies. But there, of course, we cannot say right now which are the best applications because it's something that needs to be studied. But of course, this is open for a lot of SMEs that can, let's say, bring applications to the technique.
Okay, thank you very much. Good news for our SMEs. And now, next question. I think it's again for ENERFAST. All your feasibility analyses are based on LCA assessment.
Yes, it's true that to do an LCA is not always easy because you need to compare the conventional process and the one we are using here, and it's a process that we are developing. Then to have the exact numbers is always difficult. But the good point we have here in ENERFAST is that we have the two companies that are producing right now these materials by the conventional processing. Then at least we have the real values they have from the conventional and from the new one, because sometimes when we want to enter in a new field, it's difficult to get the real information from the conventional one. But in this case, as we have involved the two producers by the conventional material, and they are interested in the new one to, let's say, at least partially substitute the conventional, I think we can believe that the values that they will consider are the right ones, because they are producing it with the conventional procedure.
Okay, thank you. There are no more questions. So I think we can conclude our meeting of today. So thank you very much. Thank you to the speakers and also to people from SMEs for participating. And let's get in touch with both European projects we presented today, and also with ENERFAST if there are some SMEs interested to join this project. So thank you and have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.